Okay, the best time of the day, demo time. And like we said, it all starts with the code. I'm using this example here from the courses repo on GitHub, and it's a nice simple web app. So this is the app here, quick bit of Node, yeah, referencing a view, which actually is back here. And this is what we're going to see later when we've got it up and running on a cluster. Oh, and we talked about dependencies. Some of those are listed here in package.json. And that's essentially our code, yeah? So, stage 1 from the last lesson, coding, done. On to stage 2, the Docker stage. Now, the purpose of the Docker stage is to get that code and package it in a way that Kubernetes can use it. A container, yeah, or a container image. Now, we're not going to go super deep into this. I've got a whole book that covers Docker if you need that. But the way we do it right is with a Docker file. So this here. And it's dead simple, yeah? This one's saying, get us a base container image, yeah? Vanilla CentOS 7, please. Yeah, okay. I'm going to be the maintainer, apparently, even though I'm not. Like, I've got zero intention of maintaining this. So, use it at your own risk. Then we install a couple of packages that we'll need. We copy in our source code. So, anything and everything from the current directory into /src in the container. That's going to be the source code we just looked at, yeah? Then we'll run an npm install and get the dependencies listed in package.json. And yeah, I mean, this is a bit node specific, right? I get that. But the point is, the Docker file here is saying, hey, we need a base image, CentOS 7, please. Install some stuff that we'll need, copy in our source code, and get us any dependencies. Brilliant. Well, then we say, okay, the container listens on port 8080. This matches what we specified in the source code. And then we're saying to go ahead and start the app with this command anytime the container starts. Magic. Now for where the rubber meets the road. I'm on my laptop here, Windows 10 with Docker Desktop installed and Kubernetes enabled. So Docker Desktop's a really easy way to spin up a single node development cluster on a Mac or a Windows laptop, and it's how I'm rocking with it in this demo. However, you can feel free to be in the cloud or whatever suits you, right? Like I said at the top of the course, Kubernetes is Kubernetes, right? It really shouldn't matter where we're running it. Anyway, here's the source code here and the Docker file. So now I can go Docker image build. Just Docker build will probably work as well. Give it a tag. I mean, you can call it what you want here, but something meaningful is usually a good idea. And then, because I'm already in the directory where all the code and stuff is, I can just say period. This is just the typical Linux shortcut for saying everything in this directory and below, yeah? So do the build and use everything in the current directory as the build context. So all of these files here are going to get passed to Docker to be used to build the image. And off it goes. Now, it's pulling images and stuff, so it'll take a minute. And as I'm doing this on my family vacation, time is just something I haven't got. So I'm going to drop myself out of the normal flow of space and time, and I'm going to pop back at some time when this is all done. Magic. Finito. So if I look here, okay, I've got a brand new image called Nigel Poulton /ACGWeb 0.1. And there's a few others that got used as part of the build, right? In fact, CentOS here, that's what we used as our base image. And then these are a bunch that are used for running the local Kubernetes cluster. Anyway, this is the one that I want. And to be clear, right, and apologies if you already know this, but this is a CentOS 7 based container with all of our code in it and a startup command that'll start our app. Tremendous. Well, now I can push it to Docker Hub, so I'll sign in. Oh, yeah, Docker Desktop, it already knows who I am. So then it's just Docker image push, or just Docker push should work, right? We give it the image name here, don't want to make a typo. And you know what, right, this is all detail, yeah? You might do it differently, and you're probably going to be pushing it somewhere else. The point is, we need to put the image somewhere that Kubernetes can get at it. Great. Now, if you're following along, well, I love that, right? But I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to push to my repos on Docker Hub. Sorry about that. You'll need your own. They're free though, so no sweat. Now, even though you can't push to my repo, it is public, so you can pull from it. So feel free to use this image, but you know what, remember, it's not maintained, so I don't know, it'll have more vulnerabilities than Windows Vista. Well, look, I'm on slow holiday Wi-Fi, right? So I'm going to bend space-time again and come back when this is all done. Done. And you know what? I make that the Docker steps done as well. Time for the Kubernetes stuff. Now, I've said this before, right? But when it comes to deploying on Kubernetes, you've got a few choices. Pods are the simplest, but they're a bit basic and we never really do it, right? Normally we'd choose a deployment, a daemon set, or a stateful set. Deployments let you scale up and down with demand, daemon sets get you a single pod on every node, and stateful sets are about stateful components in your apps and they give you ordered pod creation. Well, we're going with a deployment, and for sure, right, there's a load more detail on deployments coming in a minute, but for now this one here is ours. Now then, and you'll hear me say this a lot, right? But as much as I like the Kubernetes YAML format, like it only uses basic YAML stuff and it's pretty readable, I mean certainly better than JSON, but despite that, I totally get it, right? It can be a bit verbose, and there's times when we get repetition, yeah? But it is what it is, right? And while there are tools out there that hide it, you know what? YAML is the currency that Kubernetes deals in, so that's what we're going to learn. Now, here we go, right? A deployment is a resource in the apps API group, and it's stable as indicated by V1. We give it a name and some metadata. Then under the deployment spec here, we're telling it to manage all pods with app equals web as a label. We're saying we'll have 3 instances. When we do updates, we'll go with the rolling update method. And this here is the label to give all the pods we'll deploy, which matches this here, yeah? Then we're saying run a pod with a single container based on the image we just pushed. Now then, trying not to get lost in the detail. We've built our image and pushed it to Docker Hub. This here's the name of the image and where it is. So, by default, Kubernetes prepends image names with docker.io, meaning this image actually lives on Docker Hub at docker.io in the Nigel Poulton ACG web repository, and the name of the image is 0.1. It's the only container running in the pod that we're defining here, and we're asking for 3 instances of that pod. So if we now tell Kubernetes here to deploy it, we'll have to give that a second or two to pull the images. Oh no. Oh, I've already got them here from the build, haven't I? So that's it, actually. 3 instances. Great. Well, you know, that's magic and all, okay? But if you've done the networking lessons, you're going to know that we need to stick a service in front of this so we can get at it. Now, I'm on Docker for Desktop, right, which is a developer-focused local install, so I've got no cloud integrations. So for that, I've got a node port service here, which is going to assign this port on localhost on my laptop, and it's going to forward traffic on to port 8080 in any pods with app equals web. So, tell you what, we'll deploy that. Okay. I was expecting localhost here. Okay, well, maybe not. But you know what? We will be able to hit it on that on this port here, 31,000, that we specified in the YAML file. So if we point a browser here at that, there it is. So, amazing, right? So that's our source code deployed as an app on Kubernetes. In fact, we can see it here, right? A Cloud Guru loves Kubernetes. I mean, who doesn't, right? Now then, if you're in a cloud provider or whatever, you're going to want a load balancer service like this one. And it's in the GitHub repo as well, right? So feel free to go with that, but it'll deploy an internet-based load balancer on port 80. And that's it. We took our code, built it into a Docker image, pushed it to Docker Hub, referenced it in a Kubernetes deployment manifest, and deployed it behind a service. Boom! Web page. Have it. And that's marvelous and all right, but PowerPoint is my master. And if I don't go crawling back to it for a recap, I'd rather not think of what had happened. So do me a favour, right? Stick with me for, I don't know, maybe about another minute, and we'll do a quick recap.